Hello, this is another story from Ruth Manning-Sanders' book, Book of Magic Animals. This is the 8th story in the selection, which is a tale from Brittany called Little Babette. There was once a young widow who had a little daughter called Barbette. The widow's father was a rich nobleman who possessed a stately manor house, a farm, a mill, a bakehouse, a stable full of fine horses, many oxen, a big herd of cows, and a great flock of sheep. So, whilst this nobleman lived, the widow and little Barbette were well provided for. But when the nobleman died, oh dear, what happened? The nobleman had made no will. And he had 3 rascally brothers who seized his property and divided it between themselves. The eldest brother, Parik, took the manor house, the farm, and the horses. The second brother, Robalik, took the mill and the herd of cows. The third brother, Duval, took the oxen, the bakehouse, and the flock of sheep. So, what was left for the widow and little Barbette? Only a leaky turf hut on the edge of a barren moor. And if the widow's greedy uncles could have thought of any other use for the hut, they wouldn't even have let her have that. Now, in the hut the young widow must sit and spin all day, earning just enough to keep herself and Barbette from starving. But they were soon both of them in rags. Not that it mattered to little Barbette, who wandered the moors, collecting the prickly furze for firewood and saving the crumbs from her breakfast bread to give to the birds that sang among the bushes. There was one robin who was Barbette's particular friend. He came to meet her every morning and followed her about, perching on this bush and that bush, opening his beak wide, wide, and singing with all his might. "Oh, bon," said Barbette one morning. "I wish I knew what you were saying, for I think you are trying to tell me something." Robin flew down from bush to ground. He cocked his eye at something that glittered there. Barbette thought the glittering something was a coin, and she picked it up. But it wasn't a coin, it was a golden pebble. It was indeed a magic pebble, and it gave to whomsoever held it the power of understanding the language of birds and beasts. So now Barbette could understand what Robin was saying. "Barbette, Barbette," sang Robin, "come with me. I've something to show you. Come with me, little Barbette." Barbette flung down the bundle of furs she had gathered and followed Robin, who flitted before her over the moor and across fields and up onto the range of sand hills. There he came to flutter over Barbette's head. "What do you see down there? What do you see down there?" says he. "I see down there the ocean, calm as a lake, and on the ocean I see 7 islands shining in the sun." "And do you see something lying down there on the shore, Barbette?" "Yes, I see a pair of wooden shoes lying there, and also a holly staff." "Come down on to the seashore then, little Barbette. Put on the wooden shoes and take the holly staff in your hand." So Barbette followed Robin down to the seashore, put on the wooden shoes, and took the holly staff in her hand. And Robin said, "Now you will walk across the sea to the first of the 7 islands. You will go round the island until you find a rock on which a sea-green rush is growing. And what shall I do then, dear Robin?" "You will pluck the rush and use it for a halter." "And what shall I do after that, dear Robin?" "You will strike the rock with the holly staff. The rock will open, and a cow will come out of it, and you will put the halter around the cow's neck, and you will lead her home, little Barbette." Well, Barbette, wearing the wooden shoes and holding the holly staff, stepped into the water. Into the water, did I say? No, on to the water. For there she was, walking over the sea, light and easy as you please. And so came to the island. She went round the island and found the rock with the green rush growing on it. She picked the rush. She struck the rock with a holly staff. The rock opened, and out came a great cow with gentle eyes and a coat that shone like satin. Little Barbette put the rush round the cow's neck for a halter and led it back over the sea, without either of them so much as wetting their feet. Robin had flown away. Barbette took off the wooden shoes, laid them with the holly staff where she had found them. Then she led the cow home to her mother. Ah, how Barbette's mother laughed and clapped her hands when she saw that beautiful, sleek and shining cow. "Now you shall have all the milk you can drink, my little Barbette," said she. And she fetched a pail and a stall and sat down to milk the cow. My goodness gracious, there seemed to be no end to the milk the cow gave. It flowed like water from a spring. The milk filled every pail and every pitcher and every pan and every bowl the widow possessed, and still it flowed. Little Barbette hurried away into the village to borrow more pails. The milk filled every vessel Barbette could bring, and still it flowed and flowed. The villagers came crowding. They stood staring and gaping. Whoever asked for milk got milk free, and still the cow gave more and more. Only when every vessel was full and everyone's thirst was quenched did that milk cease to flow. "Have you seen the widow's magic cow? Have you seen it?" Everyone was chattering. The fame of that cow spread far and wide. Farmers came wanting to buy, offering fistfuls of gold, bidding one against the other. But no, the widow wouldn't sell, not she. Then came the widow's eldest uncle, Parik, and said, "Blood is thicker than water. You are my niece. You can't refuse to sell me the cow." Oh, couldn't she? She could, and she did. "I'll give you all my horses," said Parik. But the widow didn't want his horses. "I will give you my farm," said Parik. But the widow didn't want his farm. "Well then," cries Parik at last, "I will give you the manor house, the house of your father where you were born." And the widow, because she loved her father's house, said, "Yes, it is a bargain. Take the cow." So Parik led the cow away to his farm, and the widow and little Barbette went to live at the manor. The widow was happy to be home again, but Barbette wouldn't be comforted. She wanted her magic cow. She cried all day and cried herself to sleep that night. Barbette, Barbette. Now it was morning, and someone was calling her. Barbette sat up in bed, rubbed her eyes. There was Robin perched on the bed rail. "Little Barbette, come out, sang Robin, "and bring your golden pebble. I've something to show you, little Barbette." Little Barbette jumped out of bed. She took the golden pebble from under her pillow and ran out, just as she was, in her nightgown. Robin flew across the manor court to the stables, and Barbette pattered after him on her bare feet. "Open the stable door," sang Robin. "But there's nothing in the stables," said Barbette. "Great Uncle Parik has all the horses." Open the door, sang Robin. So little Barbette opened the stable door. What did she see in there? The magic cow. "Oh, my cow, my darling big cow, who brought you back?"
"I brought myself back," said the cow. "I wasn't going to live with that mean prairie creature."
"Oh, but my cow, he won't let you stay. He'll come and fetch you away."
"He may come, but he won't fetch me away, little Barbette. Now take the magic pebble in your hand and stroke me with it 3 times, from head to tail, and say 3 times, 'Magic stone and magic sea, change my magic cow for me.'"
Well, Barbette did that. What happened? The magic cow disappeared, and there in its place stood a great dappled horse, whose coat shone like satin and whose mane and tail shone like silver. Oh, my horse, my darling big horse."
"Go and dress," said the horse, "and I'll take you for a ride."
Who was happy now but our little Barbette? She spent the day in the manor fields, perched on the back of the great dappled horse, who carried her so lightly, so smoothly, that it was like flying through the air. Yesterday she had gone to bed crying. Today she went to bed laughing, and dreamed that her horse had wings, and that they were indeed flying through the air. But in the morning her mother said, "We have corn to sell. We will send our horse to market with as many sacks as he can conveniently carry." So the manor servants brought out the corn sacks and began loading up the hooves. Did you ever? The more sacks they loaded onto his back, the bigger and stronger that horse grew. He became a giant of a horse. The servants had to fetch a ladder to reach up to his back, and still they piled on sacks, and still he grew and grew, until there was no more corn for him to carry. So away with him to market, and the town in an uproar, everyone running and shouting, "Say, say the widow's arse, the arse, the arse, say the widow's arse." And as it had been with the cow, so it was with the horse. Everyone who had money enough was wanting to buy it. But no, the widow wouldn't sell it, not she. Then came the widow's second uncle, Barbette, and with the same old tale of blood being thicker than water, and offering this, offering that in exchange for the horse. But no, the widow wouldn't sell, until at last Barbette offered her his mill and his herd of cows. And the widow said, "Yes, these things were my father's. I should like to possess them." So she took possession of the mill and the herd of cows, and Barbette led away the dappled horse, whose coat shone like satin and whose mane and tail shone like silver, and who, with every corn sack that was taken from his back, had lessened in size until he was now no bigger than he had been when Barbette first saw him. Barbette shed a tear or two when she saw the horse led away, but Robin came to perch on her shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Dry your eyes, little Barbette, your horse will come back to you." And in the evening, sure enough, there was the horse back in the manor stables. "Oh, my horse, my darling big horse!" Little Barbette clapped her hands and jumped for joy.
"That's all very well," said the horse, "and I'm glad to be back. But hurry now. We've work to do, or that mean, greedy Barbette will be after me again. Take your magic pebble, stroke me with it 3 times from mane to tail, and say 3 times, 'Magic stone and magic sea, change my magic horse for me.'" Barbette did that. The horse disappeared, and in its place stood a great ram, with golden horns and white fleece soft as new fallen snow, curling thick over his back and reaching to the ground. "Oh, oh, my ram, my darling ram!" Barbette ran to fetch her mother. Her mother came and said, "Fetch me the clippers, little Barbette. The poor creature is all but smothered in that heavy fleece." Barbette fetched the clippers. The widow began to shear the ram. Did you ever? As the fleece fell, so it grew again, till the widow stood knee-deep in the snowy white wool. "Barbette, Barbette," said the widow, "this one ram is worth all the flocks in the country." So everyone thought, and it wasn't long before the widow was being offered gold and more gold for the sale of the ram. But to all who came bargaining, the widow said, "What do I want with your gold? I am in no need. I have my father's manor, my father's mill, and my father's herd of cows. Go away." But at last came the widow's third uncle, Duval, carrying a heavy purse. "Blood is thicker than water," said he. "I am your father's brother. Here is gold. Sell me the ram." The widow said, "I do not want your gold." Then Duval cried out, "I will give you my oxen, my bakehouse, and my flock of sheep." And the widow answered, "Because these things were my father's, I should like to possess them. Take the ram." Duval led the ram away in triumph. It didn't trouble him that he had parted with so much of his property.
He still had a cottage, and he was going to make his fortune with the ram. Oh, wasn't he just? He was chuckling to himself. He felt like dancing as he led the ram away to his cottage. Now the road to his cottage lay along the edge of the sea, and as they came near the shore, the ram gave a hop, a skip, and a tug. He broke the rope that held him and scampered off across the sand. Duval raced after him, swearing and shouting, but the ram plunged into the sea and swam to the nearest island. And on the island the rocks opened to let him in and closed again behind him. Yes! The ram was gone. Duval might stamp and scream and shout himself hoarse. He might even plunge into the sea and try to swim to the island. It was all no good. The waves rose up and tossed him back to the shore, and he went away to his cottage dripping wet and howling with rage. That evening Barbette went to the stable to look for the ram. She felt certain he would come back, just as the cow and the horse had come back, and sure enough, there he was. Oh, my ram, my darling big ram.
It's all very fine, said the ram, and it's nice to see you again, but I've had a troublesome day, and I'm tired of all this chopping and changing. Now I've come back, I intend to stay back. So take your magic pebble, stroke me with it 3 times from horns to tail, and say 3 times, Magic stone and magic sea, change my magic ram for me.
Barbette did that. Well, what happened? The ram disappeared, and there in its place was a smooth, spotted dog, with 1 blue eye and 1 brown eye, and a wisp of a tail curled over his back. Oh, my dog, my darling spotted dog, don't ever leave me.
I don't intend ever to leave you, little Barbette,
said the smooth, spotted dog.
I don't think anyone will want to buy me in a hurry. Why should they? I'm no beauty.
I think you are the loveliest thing in all the world, said little Babette. Except Robin, of course. Robin, where are you? Little Barbette ran out of the stable with the smooth spotted dog at her heels. Robin was perched on a paling. Well, little Barbette, are you happy now? Oh, Robin, I couldn't be happier. Glad to hear it, said Robin. You're a very lucky girl, Barbette. So long as you have your magic pebble, all the animals and birds will be your friends. The birds will sing to you, and the animals will talk to you, and you will understand everything they say. But don't you ever forget, Barbette, that it was I who found the magic pebble for you. I will never forget it, said Barbette. Then Robin puffed out his little chest, opened wide his beak, and sang and sang. He was immensely proud of himself.